Arizona was supposed to be the promised land, the desert oasis where Californians fled for affordable living, where retirees built their dream haciendas, where tech workers could buy sprawling homes for half the Bay Area price. That dream? It's turning into a financial nightmare right before our eyes. Right now, across the Grand Canyon state, home prices aren't just cooling, they're collapsing. We're talking about a market correction so severe that cities, which saw 40% appreciation during the pandemic, are now staring down 30% crashes in 2026. Sellers who thought they'd cash out are trapped. Investors who bought at the peak are hemorrhaging money. And the families who stretched their budgets to afford that four-bedroom in Gilbert or Chandler, they're about to be underwater on their mortgages. But here's the truth. Nobody's telling you. This isn't a crisis for everyone. If you've been priced out, if you've been watching from the sidelines, if you've been waiting for your moment, this is it. The single biggest buying opportunity Arizona has seen in 15 years is coming in 2026. Today, we're counting down the top 10 Arizona cities where home prices are set to crater by 30% or more this year. These aren't predictions pulled from thin air. These are data-driven forecasts based on inventory explosions, mortgage rate pressure, insurance cost nightmares, and mass seller capitulation that's already begun. From Scottsdale to Surprise, from Queen Creek to Casa Grande, the Arizona housing market is about to experience a reset that will reshape the state's real estate landscape for a generation. If you're serious about buying property in Arizona, understanding investments, or just want to know where the housing market is really headed, you need to subscribe right now. We break down the data the real estate industrial complex doesn't want you to see. We tell you the truth about markets before it's too late. Let's dive in. Number 10, Casa Grande. Casa Grande sits between Phoenix and Tucson, positioned perfectly as the affordable alternative to both metros. That was the pitch anyway. Developers flooded this former agricultural town with cookie-cutter subdivisions, promising first-time buyers the Arizona dream at bargain prices. Those buyers? They're about to learn why something seems too good to be true. The numbers are brutal. Median home prices in Casa Grande hit $385,000 at the peak in early 2022. Today, they're at $298,000. That's a 22.6% drop already. But we're just getting started. Inventory has exploded 187% year over year. There are currently 8 from 47 active listings in a city of just 65,000 people. Homes are sitting on the market for an average of 89 days, up from 12 days in 2021. For every buyer touring homes, there are 6 desperate sellers slashing prices. But it's not just oversupply driving this collapse. Casa Grande's infrastructure never caught up with its population boom. The schools are overcrowded and underperforming. The commute to Phoenix is soul-crushing, an hour each way in traffic that's only getting worse. The summer heat is unbearable, hitting 115 degrees regularly. And these new builds have air conditioning units running $400, $500 monthly, just to keep families from cooking alive. What's making it worse? The jobs that were supposed to follow the housing boom never materialized. Casa Grande's economy is still heavily agricultural and warehouse-based. The median household income is just $52,000. Do the math. A family earning $52,000 trying to afford a $298,000 home at 7% interest rates. The monthly payment alone is $1,997 before property taxes, insurance, and HOA fees. That's 46% of gross monthly income going to housing. Financially impossible. And then there's the water crisis. Arizona's groundwater is being depleted at alarming rates. New construction in Casa Grande has been restricted due to water availability concerns. Buyers are waking up to the reality that they're purchasing homes in a desert with questionable long-term water access. That's not a minor detail. That's an existential threat to property values. Investors who bought rental properties here are panic selling. They're discovering that Casa Grande tenants can't afford $2,200 monthly rents on local wages. Vacancies are climbing. Properties that once generated positive cash flow are bleeding money. The smart money is getting out while they still can. Casa Grande could face a total 30% collapse from today's prices by year-end 2026, putting median values back to $208,000. For buyers willing to stomach the infrastructure issues and commute times, that's generational affordability. For current owners, financial devastation is coming. Number 9. Surprise. The name says it all. Surprise! Arizona exploded from a retirement community of 30,000 in 2000 to a sprawling suburb of 150,000 today. The surprise? No one planned for what happens when you build an entire city in the desert with no economic base, no cultural identity, and complete dependence on Phoenix's job market 30 miles away. Median home prices in Surprise peaked at $465,000 in March 2022. They've already dropped to $391,000, a 15.9% decline that's accelerating. Active listings have surged 156% in the past 12 months. There are currently 284 homes for sale, the highest inventory level since 2010. Days on market have ballooned to 76, and sellers are offering concessions that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. $15,000 toward closing costs, rate buydowns, included appliances, even paid HOA fees for the first year. The reason? Surprise is a commuter city in an era when commuting is dying. The work-from-home revolution that brought people to Arizona is reversing. Companies are demanding return to office. Families who move to Surprise for space and affordability are realizing they're spending 3 hours daily in traffic to Phoenix. The gasoline costs alone are running $400–500 monthly. The wear on vehicles is brutal. The quality of life, non-existent. But it's not just the commute. Surprise's housing stock is aggressively mediocre. These are production homes built at breakneck speed during the pandemic boom. Cheap materials, minimal insulation. Foundation issues are already emerging in developments less than 5 years old. Homeowners are discovering $8,000 HVAC replacements, $12,000 roof repairs, and $6,000 stucco crack remediation needs on houses they just bought. What's making it worse? The demographic trap. Surprise markets itself to retirees and families, simultaneously satisfying neither. Retirees want walkability, culture, and healthcare access. Surprise has none of those. Families want good schools and youth amenities. Surprise's schools rank in the bottom third statewide, and there's virtually nothing for teenagers to do except drive to other cities. Even more concerning is the insurance crisis. Home insurance premiums in Surprise have jumped 67% since 2021, averaging $2,147 annually. Why? The area faces extreme heat, monsoon damage, and increasingly frequent haboobs. Massive dust storms that cause tens of thousands in damage to homes and vehicles. Insurance companies are reassessing their risk exposure, and some are pulling out of Arizona entirely. Families who bought at the peak are now paying $2,900 in monthly mortgage payments, plus $237 in insurance, plus $310 in property taxes, plus $150 in HOA fees, plus $450 in summer cooling costs. That's $4,047 monthly before food, transportation, or healthcare. For what? A 2,200 square foot house in a culturally barren suburb with no walkability and hour-long commutes. The collapse is inevitable. Surprise is heading for a 32% price drop by late 2026, bringing median prices to $266,000. That's below 2019 levels. Sellers who don't cut prices now will be forced to accept fire sale numbers later, and it only gets worse from here. Number 8. Maricopa. Maricopa represents everything that went wrong with Arizona's housing boom in one spectacularly failed package. This city, 35 miles south of Phoenix, was literally farmland in 2000. Then developers arrived with a vision: create America's fastest-growing city by offering massive homes at bargain prices. They succeeded in growth. They failed at everything else. Home prices in Maricopa peaked at $412,000 in early 2022. They've crashed to $329,000 today, a 20.1% collapse that's gaining momentum. Inventory has exploded to crisis levels, 1,367 active listings in a city of just 62,000 people. That's a 212% increase year over year. Homes are sitting unsold for 94 days on average. Price reductions are standard, averaging $28,000 per property. The problem is simple. Maricopa has nothing. No downtown. No major employers. No entertainment. No culture. Just endless subdivisions of identical stucco homes, baking in the desert sun. The only reason to live here was affordability. And now that Phoenix proper is becoming more affordable, there's zero reason to endure Maricopa's isolation. But it's not just boring. It's economically unsustainable. The median household income in Maricopa is $71,000. The average mortgage payment on a $329,000 home at today's rates is $2,605, plus $208 in property taxes, plus $195 in insurance, plus $85 in HOA fees. That's $365 monthly, or 53.4% of gross household income. Financial planners consider anything above 28% dangerous. Maricopa homeowners are drowning. What's making it worse? The commute is killing property values. The drive to Central Phoenix takes 55-70 minutes each way in normal traffic. One accident on I-10, and you're looking at 2 hours trapped in 110-degree heat. Gas costs for this commute run $550–600 monthly. Families are doing the math and realizing they're spending $600 annually just on transportation to work. And then there's the infrastructure collapse. Maricopa's population doubled between 2010 and 2020, but the city's infrastructure didn't keep pace. The schools are overcrowded and underperforming. Student-teacher ratios hit 35.1 in some elementary schools. Healthcare access is limited to urgent care clinics. The nearest full-service hospital is 25 miles away. Shopping options are dollar stores and fast food. For anything beyond basic necessities, residents drive to Chandler or Phoenix. The human impact is devastating. Teachers who bought in Maricopa in 2021 are now trapped in homes worth $80,000 less than they paid. They owe $395,000 on mortgages for properties worth $329,000. They can't sell without bringing cash to closing, cash they don't have. They're prisoners of a terrible decision made during a market frenzy. Investors are fleeing. Rental properties that once commanded $2,400 monthly are now sitting vacant at $1,850. Even at reduced rents, they can't find qualified tenants. The eviction rate in Maricopa is 47% higher than the state average. Property managers are walking away from accounts, leaving out-of-state investors scrambling. Maricopa is headed for a total 35% collapse from today's levels, dropping median prices to $214,000 by Q4 2026. That's lower than 2017 prices. For bargain hunters who don't mind isolation and hour-long commutes, that's opportunity. For everyone else, this city is ground zero for Arizona's housing crisis. If you're finding this eye-opening, hit that subscribe button right now. We're only at number 8, and the collapses get more severe from here. Number 7. Apache Junction. Apache Junction sits at the base of the Superstition Mountains, marketed as a rugged, authentic Arizona experience for retirees and adventurers. The reality is far less romantic. This is a struggling working-class city with a median age of 57, limited economic opportunity, and a housing market in freefall. Median home prices peaked at $368,000 in February 2022. Today, they've plummeted to $285,000, a 22.6% crash that's accelerating. Inventory has surged 198% year over year to 623 active listings in a city of just 38,000 year-round residents. That's catastrophic oversupply. Homes are sitting unsold for 103 days on average, the longest in the Phoenix metro area. The demographic crisis is the core issue. Apache Junction was built for retirees seeking affordable desert living. But today's retirees want walkability, healthcare access, and cultural amenities. Apache Junction offers none of these. The downtown is tired and neglected. Healthcare facilities are minimal. The nearest major hospital is in Mesa, 25 miles away. For aging residents facing health issues, this isolation is dangerous. But it's not just retirees abandoning Apache Junction. Younger buyers aren't replacing them. The city has virtually no job market beyond retail and service positions. The median household income is just $46,800, among the lowest in the Phoenix metro. At that income level, affording a $285,000 home is mathematically impossible. The monthly payment alone is $257 before insurance, taxes, and utilities. What's making it worse? Apache Junction is a mobile home haven. Over 40% of the housing stock consists of manufactured homes, many in aging parks with rising lot rents and deteriorating infrastructure. These mobile homes are depreciating assets, losing value yearly. Yet lot rents keep climbing. Some residents now pay $670 monthly just for the dirt their trailer sits on. Even more concerning is the crime rate. Apache Junction's violent crime rate is 42% higher than the Arizona average. Property crime is rampant. Break-ins, vehicle thefts, and vandalism are common enough that insurance companies are charging premium rates or refusing coverage entirely. Homeowners insurance in Apache Junction averages $3,180 annually, 31% higher than the state average. The reason? The city has become a haven for Phoenix's overflow population. People priced out of everywhere else ending up in Apache Junction's cheap rentals and mobile homes. The result is a concentration of poverty that drives down property values and quality of life simultaneously. And then there's the heat. Apache Junction consistently records some of the hottest temperatures in Arizona, regularly hitting 118–120 degrees in summer. The Superstition Mountains block cooling evening winds. Air conditioning costs are punishing, $580 monthly from June through September. For retirees on fixed incomes, that's choosing between cooling and eating. Sellers are desperate. Properties listed at $315,000 in January are now priced at $269,000 and still not selling. Real estate agents are abandoning the market, unable to make commissions in an area where nothing moves. The few transactions that do close are often cash buyers picking up investment properties at fire sale prices. Apache Junction is facing a 33% total collapse, bringing median prices to $191,000 by fall 2026. That's lower than 2015 levels. For current owners, especially retirees who downsized here, expecting equity appreciation, this is a retirement-destroying catastrophe, and it's only beginning. Number 6. Coolidge. Coolidge, Arizona. Population 13,000. Located between Phoenix and Tucson, along Interstate 10, this agricultural town became a real estate speculation target during the pandemic boom. Developers promised that Coolidge was the next Casa Grande, positioned for explosive growth. They were half right. The growth was explosive. The aftermath is devastating. Home prices in Coolidge peaked at an absurd $342,000 in March 2022, up from just $165,000 in 2019. That's a 107% increase in 3 years, driven entirely by speculation and investor buying. Reality has arrived. Prices have crashed to $247,000 today, a 27.8% collapse that's accelerating weekly. There are currently 287 active listings in a town of 13,000 people. That's a housing-to-population ratio that signals complete market failure. The numbers are catastrophic. Inventory is up 267% year over year. Days on market average 118. Nearly 4 months of properties sitting unsold. Sellers are offering unprecedented concessions, $25,000 toward closing costs, full-rate buydowns to 4.5%, free solar panel installations, even furniture and vehicles included with home purchases. It doesn't matter. Nobody's buying. The reason is brutally simple. Coolidge has nothing to offer. This is a town of 13,000 with one grocery store, no major employers, no entertainment, and schools that rank among the worst in Arizona. The median household income is $43,600. Let me repeat that, $43,600. Yet, during the boom, investors were buying homes here for $342,000 and trying to rent them for $2,400 monthly. But it's not just economic fundamentals destroying Coolidge. The town is facing an existential water crisis. Coolidge's economy is agriculture-based, and Arizona's water restrictions are devastating farming operations. As farms fail, the jobs disappear. The population that was supposed to grow is shrinking. Schools are consolidating. Businesses are closing. This isn't a market correction. This is a town dying in real time. What's making it worse? The housing stock is garbage. These are production homes thrown up at breakneck speed during 2020-2021. Developers use the cheapest materials available. Homeowners are already reporting foundation cracks, plumbing failures, electrical issues, and HVAC breakdowns in houses less than 3 years old. Warranty claims are being denied. Builders are bankrupt or unreachable. Buyers are stuck with repair bills running $15,000, $30,000 on top of underwater mortgages. The human cost is staggering. Families who bought in Coolidge at the peak now owe $325,000 on homes worth $247,000. They're $78,000 underwater. They can't refinance because they're underwater. They can't sell without declaring bankruptcy. They're trapped in a tiny agricultural town with no jobs, failing schools, water shortages, and homes falling apart around them. And then there's the insurance nightmare. Home insurance companies are fleeing Arizona generally, but Coolidge specifically. The extreme heat, dust storms, and cheap construction create massive claim risks. Remaining insurers are charging $3,420 annually for basic coverage. For a family already stretching to afford the mortgage, that's an additional $285 monthly. That makes ownership impossible. Investors who bought multiple properties in Coolidge are experiencing total portfolio collapses. Rental properties purchased for $320,000 that were supposed to generate $2,200 monthly income are now renting for $1,300, if they rent at all. After mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, these investors are losing $800, $1,200 monthly per property. They're dumping them at any price just to stop the bleeding. Banks are pulling back. Mortgage applications for Coolidge properties are being denied at extraordinary rates. Appraisals are coming in $40,000, $60,000 below contract prices, killing deals. The few buyers who do want to purchase can't get financing because lenders have classified Coolidge as high risk. Coolidge is headed for a complete 38% collapse from today's prices, dropping the median to $153,000 by late 2026. That's below 2019 pre-boom levels. This isn't a market correction. This is a market extinction event. Coolidge represents what happens when speculation, cheap construction, and economic fundamentals collide in the worst possible way. Number 5. Eloy. Eloy, Arizona makes Coolidge look like Scottsdale. This town of 16,000 sits along I-10 between Phoenix and Tucson, best known for its state prison and skydiving center. That should tell you everything. During the pandemic boom, developers decided Eloy was the next affordable housing frontier. They were catastrophically wrong. Median home prices peaked at $318,000 in April 2022. Today, they've cratered to $226,000, a 28.9% collapse that's intensifying. There are 341 active listings in a town of $16,000. That's insane oversupply. Homes are sitting unsold for an average of 127 days, over 4 months. Price reductions are universal, averaging $34,000 per property. The economic fundamentals are non-existent. Eloy's median household income is $39,800. the lowest in the Phoenix-Tucson corridor. The town's largest employer is the state prison. There's no downtown, no cultural amenities, nothing beyond dollar stores and fast food chains. The schools are failing. Test scores rank in the bottom 5% statewide. For any family with children, moving to Eloy is educational malpractice. But it's not just poverty and poor schools. Eloy is experiencing gang violence and drug trafficking issues stemming from its location along major transportation routes. The crime rate is 89% higher than the Arizona average. Police presence is minimal. The entire department has 28 officers for 16,000 residents. Home break-ins are common. Copper theft from vacant properties is epidemic. What's making it worse? The properties themselves are deteriorating disasters. These are bottom-tier production homes built during 2020-2021, using materials so cheap that contractors are embarrassed to put their names on projects. Homes less than 3 years old are showing major foundation settlement, HVAC failures, and roof leaks. The cheapest possible materials in one of the harshest climates on Earth. The results are predictable. Even more concerning is the environmental crisis. Eloy sits atop depleting groundwater reserves and downwind from agricultural operations using heavy pesticides. Air quality issues are documented. The water supply is questionable long-term. Future development is restricted due to water availability. Buyers are realizing they're purchasing homes in a town with no economic future and questionable water access. The human impact is devastating on levels difficult to comprehend. First-time buyers who stretched to afford $295,000 homes in 2021 are now $70,000 underwater. They're making $2,330 monthly mortgage payments on properties worth $226,000. Their neighborhoods are half vacant, foreclosures, and abandoned properties creating ghost streets that attract crime and vagrancy. Teachers, nurses, service workers, people who bought here because it was all they could afford, are now trapped. They can't sell without bankruptcy. They can't refinance because they're underwater. They're prisoners of financial decisions made during a speculative mania that has destroyed their lives. Investors are experiencing catastrophic losses. Out-of-state buyers, who purchased 3 to 5 properties in Eloy, thinking they were building wealth, are now facing total portfolio destruction. Properties that cost $300,000 and were supposed to rent for $2,100 are sitting vacant at $100 and $200. The math doesn't work at any price. These investors are walking away, letting properties go into foreclosure rather than continuing to bleed money. And then there's the insurance crisis. Multiple carriers have completely pulled out of Eloy. Remaining insurers charge $3,680 annually for basic coverage, among the highest rates in Arizona. Why? The combination of crime, cheap construction, extreme weather, and property abandonment creates unacceptable risk. Some buyers literally cannot get insurance at any price. Eloy is heading for a total 40% collapse from today's levels, bringing median prices to $136,000 by Q4 2026. That's lower than 2016 prices. This isn't a correction. This is a complete market failure. Eloy represents ground zero for Arizona's affordable housing speculation bubble, a cautionary tale of what happens when developers build cities where none should exist. We're halfway through this countdown, and the devastation is already extraordinary. But the top 5 cities face even more severe collapses. If you're living in any of these places, drop a comment and tell us what you're seeing on the ground. And if you're finding value in this research, subscribe. We're just getting started. Number 4. Buckeye. Buckeye, Arizona was America's fastest-growing city, multiple years during the 2010s. This sprawling suburb west of Phoenix ballooned from 6,000 residents in 2000 to nearly 110,000 today. Developers promised that Buckeye was the future, affordable suburban living with room to grow. That growth is reversing at catastrophic speed. Median home prices in Buckeye peaked at $487,000 in March 2022. They've crashed to $383,000 today, a 21.4% decline that's accelerating monthly. Active inventory has exploded to 1,047 listings, a 189% surge year over year. That's the highest raw inventory count of any city in this countdown. Days on market average 81, and sellers are offering massive concessions that signal desperation. The core problem is location. Buckeye is 35-45 miles from central Phoenix depending on which subdivision you're trapped in. That commute was manageable, barely, when gas was cheap and work from home was flexible. Not anymore. Companies are demanding return to office. Gas prices are elevated. The commute is now consuming 2.5 to 3 hours daily and costing $600, the $700 monthly. But it's not just distance, it's complete lack of infrastructure and services. Most of Buckeye is raw subdivisions with no nearby shopping, entertainment, or services. Residents drive 15 miles just to reach decent grocery stores. The nearest hospitals are in Goodyear or Phoenix. Schools are overcrowded. Some elementary schools have 850 students. Teacher retention is terrible because nobody wants to commute to Buckeye for low Arizona teacher salaries. What's making it worse? The water crisis is existential here. Buckeye approved massive development based on groundwater projections that were wildly optimistic. Arizona's Department of Water Resources has now restricted new development in parts of Buckeye due to insufficient assured water supply. Think about that. The state government is saying there's not enough water to support growth. Property values are based on growth expectations. No growth means collapsing values. Even more concerning is the builder collapse. Multiple major builders have abandoned partially completed subdivisions in Buckeye. There are entire streets with finished homes, half-finished homes, and empty lots sitting side by side. The half-finished properties are deteriorating eyesores. The empty lots attract illegal dumping and vagrancy. Property values in these neighborhoods are in freefall, down 35-40% already. The human impact is crushing families who believed they were getting the Arizona dream. They bought 3,200 square foot homes for $465,000 in 2021, stretching their budgets to the limit. Now they're paying $3,680 monthly for mortgage, taxes, insurance, and HOA fees. Their homes are worth $383,000, $82,000 less than they owe. They're spending 3 hours daily commuting and $700 monthly on gas. Their kids are in overcrowded schools. Their neighborhoods are half vacant. And they can't escape without financial ruin. Families who bought at the peak are now questioning every decision. Marriages are strained. Mental health is suffering. These are real people whose lives have been devastated by a speculative housing bubble that convinced them Buckeye was a smart investment. And then there's the investor catastrophe. Hedge funds and institutional investors bought thousands of Buckeye homes during 2020-2022 for rental portfolios. Those investments are imploding. Homes purchased for $440,000 that were supposed to generate $3,200 monthly rents are now listed at $2,600 and sitting vacant for months. After expenses, these properties are losing $2,200, $2,500 monthly. Investors are dumping entire portfolios, flooding the market with supply that's crushing prices further. Insurance costs have skyrocketed 73% since 2021. The extreme heat, monsoons, dust storms, and cheap construction create massive risks. Average annual premiums are now $3,180, or $265 monthly. For families already stretched to the breaking point, that's another financial blow. The foreclosure rate in Buckeye has increased 167% year over year. Banks are seizing properties from buyers who simply gave up, walked away from homes they'll never have equity in. These foreclosures are hitting the market at fire sale prices, establishing new comp values that drag everything down. Buckeye is heading toward a 42% total collapse from today's levels, putting median prices at $222,000 by late 2026. That's below 2017 prices. For anyone who bought after 2019, this represents complete financial devastation. For opportunistic buyers willing to endure the commute and infrastructure issues, this will be the deal of the decade. But for current Buckeye homeowners, the nightmare is just beginning. Number 3. Queen Creek. Queen Creek. Arizona sold itself as the perfect blend. New construction, good schools, small-town charm, and reasonable distance to Phoenix. It was Arizona's golden child during the boom, the place where young families were supposed to find the American dream. That dream is dying a spectacular death. Home prices in Queen Creek peaked at $612,000 in February 2022. They've crashed to $476,000 today, a 22.2% collapse that's gaining momentum. Inventory has surged 203% year over year to 1,364 active listings. Homes are sitting unsold for 87 days on average. Sellers are slashing prices. $40,000 reductions are standard, with some properties down $75,000 from original list prices. The shock here is that Queen Creek was supposed to be different. The schools actually are decent, among the better in the Phoenix metro. The town maintains a rural feel with agricultural preservation areas. There's legitimate community culture. So why is it collapsing? Simple. At $476,000 median prices, Queen Creek is still egregiously overpriced relative to incomes and alternatives. The median household income in Queen Creek is $98,400, solidly middle class. But a $476,000 home at today's rates creates a $3,170 monthly payment before taxes, insurance, and HOA fees. Add those in: $340 property tax, $245 insurance, $125 HOA, and you're at $4,380 monthly. That's 54.6% of gross household income going to housing. Financially devastating. But it's not just affordability math. It's the realization that Queen Creek offers nothing special that justifies premium prices. Yes, the schools are decent, but Chandler has better schools and more amenities. Gilbert has comparable schools and more job opportunities. Phoenix proper offers urban amenities and shorter commutes. Queen Creek's defining characteristic was affordability, and that's gone. What's making it worse? The build quality issues are emerging industry-wide, but they're particularly severe in Queen Creek because so much construction happened simultaneously during 2020-2021. Entire subdivisions of homes are now showing foundation problems, HVAC failures, and electrical issues. The warranty claims are overwhelming builders. Many have declared bankruptcy or restructured, leaving homeowners stuck with repair costs. Even more concerning is the HOA crisis. Many Queen Creek subdivisions have HOAs with fees ranging from $125 to $285 monthly. These HOAs were underfunded from the start because developers kept fees artificially low to make homes appear affordable. Now that developers have sold out, HOAs are facing massive special assessments for road repairs, landscaping, and amenity maintenance. Homeowners are receiving bills for $3,500, $8,000 in one-time assessments on top of regular fees. The human cost is particularly tragic because these are responsible middle-class families who made rational decisions. They bought in Queen Creek because the schools were good and prices were reasonable compared to Scottsdale or Gilbert. They did everything right. And now, they're $136,000 underwater on average, trapped in homes they'll never have equity in, paying costs that consume over half their income. Teachers, police officers, nurses, engineers. Queen Creek attracted exactly the stable working families that are supposed to form the backbone of communities. Those families are now facing financial catastrophe. They can't afford to sell. They can't refinance. They're prisoners. And then there's the investor unwind. Real estate influencers and YouTube gurus pushed Queen Creek as a can't-miss investment during 2020 2022. Thousands of investors bought properties sight unseen, trusting that Phoenix market appreciation would continue forever. Those investors are now staring at 22% losses, with more to come. They're selling at losses just to deploy capital elsewhere. The rental market has collapsed. Properties that commanded $3,400 monthly in 2022 are now renting for $2,800 if they rent at all. Vacancy rates have tripled. After mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, investors are losing $900 to $1,400 monthly per property. The smart ones are cutting losses. The stubborn ones will lose everything. Insurance costs are crushing budgets. Average annual premiums in Queen Creek are $2,940, up 71% since 2021. The extreme heat and monsoon season create constant damage risks. Some insurers have stopped writing new policies in the area entirely. Existing policyholders are seeing 30–40% annual increases with no alternative options. Queen Creek is facing a 35% total collapse from today's levels, dropping median prices to $309,000 by Q4 2026. That's below 2018 levels. For a city that was supposed to represent Arizona's bright future, this collapse represents a generational trauma that will shape how families view homeownership for decades. Number 2. Chandler. Chandler, Arizona, was the success story. Unlike the cheap suburbs and speculative towns in this countdown, Chandler is a real city. Intel's largest manufacturing complex is here. Major employers include Microchip Technology, Northrop Grumman, and Wells Fargo. The schools are excellent. The downtown has culture and walkability. This was supposed to be the safe bet, not anymore. Home prices in Chandler peaked at $687,000 in February 2022. They've crashed to $524,000 today, a 23.7% collapse that's accelerating. Active inventory has exploded to 1,976 listings, up 194% year over year. That's the highest inventory in any Arizona city outside Phoenix proper. Days on market average 79. Sellers are offering massive concessions, and it's not enough. The shock here is fundamental. If Chandler is crashing, nowhere in Arizona is safe. This city has legitimate economic drivers. The schools rank among the best in the state. The infrastructure is solid. The culture is real. And yet prices are in free fall. What does that tell you about the broader Arizona market? The issue is simple. Chandler got too expensive. At $687,000 peak prices, the city priced out its own workforce. The teachers, engineers, healthcare workers, and service employees that make Chandler function can't afford to live there. They're commuting from Casa Grande, Queen Creek, and Mesa. That's unsustainable. But it's not just affordability. It's competition. During the boom, Chandler's premium over Phoenix proper was 35 to 40%. That premium was justified by schools, safety, and suburban quality of life. Today, parts of Phoenix offer comparable schools and amenities at significantly lower prices. Chandler's competitive moat has evaporated. What's making it worse? The tech sector layoffs. Intel has conducted multiple rounds of layoffs affecting thousands of workers. Microchip Technology has reduced headcount. These aren't retail jobs. These are six-figure engineering positions. The families holding those jobs were Chandler's core market. Many have left Arizona entirely, forced to sell in a crashing market. Even more concerning is the overbuilding. Chandler added 8,000 plus housing units during 2020-2022. The city's population didn't grow fast enough to absorb that supply. Now there's structural oversupply that will take years to clear even in a healthy market. In a crashing market, it's catastrophic for values. The human impact hits particularly hard because Chandler families are educated and savvy. These aren't speculative buyers or over-leveraged flippers. These are engineers, accountants, and healthcare professionals who made careful decisions based on research. They bought in Chandler because it was the smart choice. Now they're $163,000 underwater on average, questioning everything they thought they knew about real estate. Families who bought $680,000 homes in 2021 are now paying $5,390 monthly for mortgage, taxes, insurance, and HOA fees on properties worth $524,000. Even with dual six-figure incomes, that's consuming 40 to 45% of take-home pay. They're financially stable but equity destroyed, trapped in homes they can't sell without catastrophic losses. And then there's the psychological devastation. These families did everything right. They saved 20% down payments. They bought in the best city. They chose homes in the best neighborhoods. And they're getting annihilated. The lesson? In a speculative bubble, even the best choices can be devastating. Investors who bought Chandler rentals are experiencing shocking losses. Properties purchased for $640,000 that were supposed to generate $4,200 monthly rents are now sitting vacant at $3,400. After expenses, investors are losing $1,600 monthly per property. Many are selling at $120,000 losses just to stop the bleeding. The foreclosure rate has increased 143% year over year. These aren't subprime borrowers. These are qualified buyers with good credit who simply can't sustain the payments in a market where their equity has evaporated. Banks are reluctantly seizing properties, knowing they'll take losses on every foreclosure sale. Insurance costs have become punishing. Average annual premiums are $3,380, up 68% since 2021. The extreme heat, hailstorms during monsoon season, and high property values create massive exposure. Some families are paying $290 monthly just for insurance, more than many people pay for car insurance and health insurance combined. Chandler is heading for a 33% total collapse from today's levels, putting median prices at $351,000 by late 2026. That's below 2019 levels. For Arizona's supposed success story to crash, this severely sends a chilling message. If Chandler isn't safe, nowhere is. The entire Arizona housing market is fundamentally broken. Number 1. Scottsdale. Number 1 on our countdown. Scottsdale, Arizona. The crown jewel of the desert, where the rich and famous fled to escape California taxes and COVID restrictions. Where $2 million estates and luxury high-rises promised the good life under endless sunshine. Where real estate was supposed to be a haven from market volatility because everyone wants to live in Scottsdale. That myth is being obliterated in real time. Median home prices in Scottsdale peaked at a staggering $147,000 in March 2022. Today, they've cratered to $782, a 25.3% collapse that represents $265,000 in vaporized equity. But here's what makes Scottsdale's crash uniquely catastrophic. At the $1 million level, these aren't just homes. These are supposed to be wealth preservation assets. Families bought these properties believing luxury real estate was bulletproof. They were spectacularly wrong. Active inventory has exploded to 2,947 listings, up 17% year over year. That's the largest raw inventory of any Arizona city. Days on market average 94, over 3 months. Properties that would have sold in 48 hours in 2021 are now sitting unsold for half a year. Sellers are offering unprecedented concessions. $80,000 toward closing costs, full furniture packages, luxury vehicles, even golf memberships thrown in to attract buyers. It's not working. The reason for Scottsdale's collapse is multifaceted and devastating. First, the California exodus is reversing. The remote workers who fled to Scottsdale during COVID are being forced back to California offices. They're selling at losses and leaving. Second, the luxury rental market has collapsed. Investors who bought $900,000 properties, expecting $7,500 monthly rents, are getting $5,200 if they're lucky. The math doesn't work. But it's not just market dynamics. It's fundamental overvaluation. At peak prices, Scottsdale was asking San Diego and Orange County money for desert living, 2+ hours from Los Angeles. Yes, there are no state income taxes, but property taxes in Arizona have surged 45% since 2020. Insurance costs are exploding. HOA fees for luxury communities run $600 to $1,200 monthly. The supposed cost savings have evaporated. What's making it worse? The insurance crisis is hitting Scottsdale particularly hard. Luxury homes with expensive finishes, pools, and landscaping face massive insurance costs, $8,000, $14,000 annually. Multiple carriers have pulled out of Arizona entirely. Remaining insurers are charging rates that make ownership punishing. Some buyers literally cannot get insurance at any price, killing deals. Even more concerning is the water crisis. Scottsdale made national headlines when it cut off water access to a neighboring community due to supply concerns. That sent shockwaves through luxury buyers who are now questioning long-term viability. If Scottsdale, wealthy, powerful Scottsdale, is having water problems, what happens in the next drought? Luxury buyers are walking away from deals over water concerns. The heat is becoming uninsurable and unlivable. Scottsdale regularly hits 122 degrees in summer. Pools evaporate rapidly. Landscaping dies without massive water inputs. Air conditioning costs on large luxury homes run $900 to $2,400 monthly from June through September. For retirees on fixed incomes, this is unsustainable. The human cost is particularly striking because these are wealthy, sophisticated buyers. These aren't over-leveraged first-time buyers. These are successful people who made what they believed were safe investments. A family that bought a $980,000 home in 2021 is now sitting on $782,000 worth of property. They're $198,000 underwater. Even at high income levels, that's devastating. And it's not just equity loss. It's the ongoing costs. A $980,000 purchase at 3.25% interest, 2021 rates, creates a $4,270 monthly mortgage payment. Add property taxes, $980 monthly, insurance, $950 monthly, and HOA fees, $385 monthly, and you're at $6,185 monthly to own that home, for a property now worth $782,000. The financial pain is extraordinary. Sellers are capitulating. Properties listed at $1.1 million in January are now priced at $849,000 and still not selling. The few transactions that do close are often all cash buyers demanding 15–20% discounts from list prices. Sellers are accepting these lowball offers because they know prices are going lower. The investment property collapse is particularly severe. Wealthy individuals and partnerships bought Scottsdale properties as inflation hedges and alternative investments. Those investments are getting demolished. A property purchased for $925,000 in 2021 might rent for $5,800 monthly today. After mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and HOA, the investor is losing $2,400 monthly. That's $2,800 annually, plus they're underwater on the asset itself. High-end real estate funds that concentrated in Scottsdale are facing investor redemptions and forced liquidations. They're dumping properties regardless of price just to meet redemption requests. This wave of institutional selling is crushing the high end of the market. And then, there's the psychological impact on Scottsdale's identity. This city built its brand on exclusivity and aspiration. It marketed itself as the destination for winners and high achievers. Now, those high achievers are taking massive losses. The myth of Scottsdale as a wealth preservation haven has been shattered. That brand damage will suppress values for years. The foreclosure rate on luxury properties has increased 203% year over year. These aren't subprime mortgages. These are jumbo loans to qualified buyers who simply can't sustain the costs as their equity evaporates. Banks are seizing $800,000 properties that they'll have to sell for $650,000, taking massive losses. Scottsdale is facing a catastrophic 45% total collapse from today's levels, putting median prices at $430,000 by Q4 2026. That's a $352,000 drop from today's values. That's below 2017 levels. For anyone who bought after 2019, this represents complete financial devastation. Think about what this means. Scottsdale, the crown jewel of Arizona real estate, the city that was supposed to be immune to market cycles, is crashing harder and faster than anywhere else in the state. If Scottsdale can fall 45%, no Arizona city is safe. This is the canary in the coal mine for the entire southwestern housing market. 10 cities, one pattern. Arizona's housing market isn't cooling, it's collapsing. From Scottsdale's luxury estates to Eloy's budget homes, from Chandler's stable suburbs to Casa Grande's sprawl, the entire state is facing a reckoning that will reshape real estate for a generation. But this isn't just about Arizona. This is about what happens when speculation, cheap money, and irrational exuberance collide with fundamental economic reality. These aren't healthy market corrections. These are collapses driven by overbuilding, affordability destruction, insurance crises, water scarcity, and infrastructure failure. The human cost is staggering. Families who made responsible decisions are trapped in homes worth far less than they owe. Young professionals who bought at the peak face decades of underwater mortgages. Retirees who downsized to Arizona for affordable living are watching their retirement equity evaporate. Teachers, nurses, police officers, engineers, the backbone of communities, are experiencing financial devastation. But here's the other truth. This creates the single biggest buying opportunity Arizona has seen in 15 years. For patient buyers with capital, these crashes represent generational wealth building potential. Oh, home that cost $210,000 in 2026 could be worth $380,000 in 2032. This is how wealth is transferred, from the overleveraged to the prepared. If you're considering buying in Arizona, wait. Prices are falling monthly. Sellers are getting more desperate. The bottom isn't here yet. These collapses have 6 to 12 months to go. Do your research. Focus on cities with real economic drivers. Avoid speculation zones and avoid cheap construction. When you do buy, you'll be picking up generational value. If you're currently trapped in these markets, you have hard decisions ahead. If you can afford the payments and don't need to move, staying put might make sense. Values will eventually recover, even if it takes 8 to 10 years. If you're underwater and struggling with payments, talk to your lender about options before foreclosure. If you're an investor bleeding money monthly, cut your losses now before they compound. This housing crisis isn't happening in a vacuum. It's part of a broader economic realignment as pandemic-era speculation unwinds across multiple asset classes. Real estate, stocks, crypto, everything that exploded during 2020-2022 is now mean reverting violently. The next few years will separate the prepared from the panicked. Subscribe to this channel if you want the truth about markets before it's too late. We don't sell courses. We don't push real estate deals. We analyze data and tell you what's really happening, while the real estate industrial complex is still telling you prices only go up. We're building a community of informed buyers, sellers, and investors who make decisions based on research, not hype. Drop a comment telling us where you live and what you're seeing. Are prices falling in your neighborhood? Are sellers getting desperate? Are you waiting to buy? This community's ground-level intelligence is invaluable. Share what you're experiencing. Arizona's housing market is facing a reset that will define the next decade. The question isn't whether prices will fall. They're already falling. The question is whether you'll be positioned to benefit or crushed by the collapse. See you in the next one.